That's my bad. All right, let's do this. Okay. Yes, thank you. How'd it go? Hard, easy?
Organization was hard.
Organization was hard, right? Good. I'm happy I assigned it. Okay. They like to do this motion to dismiss thing. They do it in several subjects. It doesn't only come up in torts, although it mostly comes up within torts and contracts. Could come up in real property. Okay. So how do you organize this? I'm going to show you. A couple ways you can organize it. Let me teach you the most simple way to do it. Let me just brainstorm for a second. Okay, that's how you're going to do it. Let's look at the calls. Manufacturer moved to dismiss the complaint against it on the following grounds. 1. Consumer's injury was caused by her own misuse. Okay, wait. I'm going to stop myself. I got my brainstorm. Let's talk about a motion to dismiss. Let's talk about how that happens, okay? So we'll learn in civil procedure that the first real move that you make as a plaintiff is the filing of a complaint, okay? Once a complaint is filed, let's just say in the real world state court, okay, not federal court, although it is the same procedure, just the timing is different, that's the main difference. You have 30 days to respond as a defendant, right? Your response can be one of three real ways, but two main ways, okay? One is an answer. That's one way. Most attorneys don't want to answer unless they see, you know what, this is a breach of contract. There's a contract. We're just going to move this on, okay? It's going to get through. We're just going to answer. If you don't understand what I'm talking about and I sound like I'm talking a different language to you, we'll get there when we talk in civil procedure, okay? But when you look at a complaint, what makes a complaint go through to the next stage? Which is the next stage? The second stage of litigation is discovery. The first stage is the pleading stage. Okay, and the second stage is discovery, the third stage is trial. It's important that you start understanding these concepts now and how these things really pan out in the real world. Because if you knew how a motion to dismiss really works, organization would be easier here, all right? But let's say you represent the defendant and you look at the complaint and you say, they didn't plead strict product liability correctly, causation is missing. Right? Do you have to plead for causation? Did we just learn that? Yes. They didn't plead any defect for breach, right? So as a defense attorney, well, now in California, which you'll need to know, okay, I always kind of try and cross over the subjects. There's a meet and confer requirement before you can file a motion to dismiss. In California, it's called demur, and you have to confer with the other side and say you didn't properly that threw me off. Okay, thanks. You didn't plead breach properly. You have some time to change it, or I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to file a motion to dismiss. Let's just call it that. It's a demur in California, but a motion to dismiss to knock out your strict product liability claim because you did not properly plead defect or causation. That's what they're asking here. Did the plaintiff properly plead? Now obviously we don't have the complaint in front of us, but think of it like that. Based on these facts, does the plaintiff have enough to plead for every cause of action that they have? How many cause of actions have they pled? Has this plaintiff pled? The consumer. 2. What are they? Strict product liability and negligence. Let's start with that. So go 1 and go through each. Let's just start by going through the individual theory, and then I'm going to show you how to address the motion to dismiss questions as we go through it, okay? So first heading, and I actually did this question today. I was sitting at the dining room table, and I'm like, I kind of miss being in school a little bit. You'll see, 7, 8 years out of being in school, it kind of gets like, you're like, Shana, shut up. But I just kind of miss the studying aspect. Does that make sense? You're alone, you have your coffee. Don't take advantage of it, because Once you have kids, and maybe some of you do, but bothering you while you're studying, it's a little bit different than when you're alone in your world and you have the law and the case, and it's kind of cool. All right, so let's start with our first theory, strict product liability. And what do we need for that theory? Let's issue spot. Let me get my issue spot out. Okay, so what do we need? Strict. Is this element within the context of any challenge brought up to the complaint? What do they, let's actually back it up. Let's look at the call. What do they want to challenge within strict product liability that ties in to the standard of strict product liability? So let's deal with each theory individually, right? Let's look at call 1. Consumer's injury was caused by her own misuse of the cold drink blender. As implied by its name, was intended for mixing only cold substances. I just told you that misuse typically does not apply to what? To which theory? Negligence or strict product liability? Negligence. So this misuse, you can even make a little chart for yourself here. Strict product liability, negligence. Misuse will only apply to the strict product liability claim. Second, consumer injury was caused by her own lack of care. They're giving it to you. What's that? Lack of care. Standard of care. What does that apply to? Negligence. So this is a defense, right? And what does this go to? Lack of care. To what? Does this go to duty? Does it go to breach? What does it go to? Good, defense. Which defense is that? Contributory negligence. She didn't, well, let's back it. The product didn't harm her. She harmed herself. It says cold blender, and she used it for hot soup. Was it hot soup? Yeah. Soup. Okay? Next, the design of the cold blender or drink blender was not defective since it complied with they're giving it to you. It was not defective. Do we see the word defective in any other theory? Only where? Okay. So even number them. So 1 was misuse, 2 lack of care, 3 bless you was that the plaintiff didn't properly allege defect. Specifically within design standards, so I would just make a little note that that's the main one to address, because that's the main one that the motion to dismiss is addressing. Set forth in federal regulations, doesn't talk about any other defect. Now it's important to note that, because when you file a motion to dismiss, or when you draft one, you don't have to attack every single part of a plaintiff's complaint or a defendant's cross complaint. Same thing. Okay? You only move to dismiss those areas that are not properly pleaded within the 4 corners of the complaint. So if the other side has pled, let's say, causation, and it's clear, you're not going to move to dismiss on the grounds of causation. Does that make sense? So you're not going to waste the court's time, all right? Because the court's going to look at you and go, why are you wasting my time here? This is clearly, pled properly, and then they're going to, basically deny your entire demur or motion to dismiss. Okay, 4th is retailer. So we could even break it up a little bit more. We could go, these are the manufacturer. And then what about the retailer? Played no part in the manufacture of the cold drink blender and therefore should not be held responsible for a defect in its design. What do you think about the retailer? They played no part, and, is that 2 parts? There's the word and there. Every time there's a word and on the bar, or, that separates 2, it's like basically 2 calls in a sense. So the retailer played no part in the manufacture. What would that go towards, you think? Negligence. Let's just call this retailer. And then obviously 4 as well. So there's 4A and then 4B would be what? That they didn't what? Not responsible for the design defect. Okay. So let's start with strict product liability, and we'll stop where basically what you're going to do is you're going to go through the approach for strict product liability, and when one of these elements that are at issue in the motion to dismiss come up, you're going to address it in the context of a motion to dismiss. Let's see how that happens. Strict duty owed, do we have that? Quickly, and by the way, just so you know, this is where you're going to spend the bulk of your time because we take the calls of the question very literally. So they're asking specifically for these bases to dismiss the complaint. We're going to spend our time here the most. Okay? Here the most. Strict duty owed. Yes or no? Do we have this element met by commercial supplier, manufacturer? Yes or no? Okay, quickly in and out. Good. What else do we need? Product not substantially altered. Are there any facts about the product being altered in any way? No. Quickly in and out. So I'm checking it, meaning, it's a horrible check. What else? What's next? Breach. Is the first element tied into any part of the motion to dismiss? Is the second? Is the third? Yes. So we give the 3 defects. Let's go through each one. Doesn't matter which one you start with, by the way. It can be whichever one you prefer. Okay? Let's start with the manufacturer defect. Do we have a manufacturer defect? You say no. Can someone give me the analysis for that? As to why we do not have a manufacturer defect? Yes.
Manufacturing defect occurs when just one individual product is more dangerous than all the other products.
Great. One product is more dangerous than all the other products. They don't give us any facts as to that. Peace out. Get out of there. Okay? Quickly in and out, maybe 2 minutes. Not even 1 to 2 minutes. Is there a failure to warn? Yes or no? Yes or no? I see some no's and then I see some yeses. Well, what if they were going to warn about something, what should they have warned about? I see the lid. Should they have warned that there was no lid? I think that there's no lock. But I have a blender. By the way, common sense comes into this analysis a lot. I know if it locks, right? So that's a little bit less of a defect as opposed to the hot, right? Was there any mention anywhere that the facts give us that consumer cannot use this for hot material, hot food? No. Okay, so that's the biggie. So we definitely have this element met on a failure to warn or hot, let's call them hot items. But we're going to quickly get in and out of this one as well, even though it's met, because the one we really care about is the design defect per the motion to dismiss. Do we have enough facts? And by the way, when you're drafting a complaint, especially in California, factual assertions are key. So I have been able to, and they allow you to amend really as many times, usually 3-4 times is the max, and then they're like, okay, go away. But as long as you have sufficient facts, you will get your complaint through. But if you are just pleading that the element was met, right, then you're not going to get it through. So we need to have this design defect aspect, okay, We need to have it severely analyzed with a lot of facts. And we need to go into both sides, all right? So what is a design defect? What is it? Let's look at our standard. What's the standard? Yes? Vincent?
Consumer expectations.
The consumer expectation test. Okay. What is that? What is the actual test? Let's look at the law. Page 207. So it's an alternative design must be shown. That's the main part of the standard. But the design has to be economically feasible. So you always want to tell the grader, because they probably, unless they give you facts saying that to make it with a safety feature would be very expensive, you want to say as long as the alternative design is not exorbitant in nature, they would have been required to design it more adequately. Okay? And give creative ways by which the manufacturer could have designed the product differently. Be creative with it. With your common sense, with what you know about how a product should be designed. I mean, a blender should have a lock. I don't know any blender unless it's like those real old school ones with just like the circle. I mean, this is what year? 2007? So maybe the Ninja didn't come out by then. Or the Bullet. I have one of those. It's so cool. You put all your stuff in it, like 1 second. It's like the best smoothie ever. But you want to bring up, I mean, you could even say most products that are placed within the stream of commerce nowadays, like the Ninja and the Bullet, have safety features on it, i.e. a lock. You can say that. You can bring in common sense arguments to support the design defect and then talk about, so clearly there was an alternative design because most blenders do have the safety feature. And if most blenders, and then touch upon how it's probably not that expensive because if most blenders are, blender companies are doing it, right, then they're going to be held to that same standard. So we definitely have, so first we're establishing that we have the design defect. Clear? We're going into this at least, I would say, 6 minutes, 6-7 minutes on that. So if we divided each major component into 10 minutes, let's assume that our issue spotting took us, well, we know how long our issue spotting took us, but on the bar, when everything's fresh in our head, right, hopefully, then the issue spotting really can't take more than 5 to 7 minutes, max. Leaves us with about how long to write. So let's just say we spent 10 minutes on misuse. We'll get to these two. 10 minutes on this. 10 minutes on the defect. So it's 30 minutes. And then this is pretty short, which we'll see in a moment. So that's maybe 7 minutes. 37 minutes is really, let's say 40, let's round it up, what this should take you to write. 10 minutes is a long time to write for a theory of liability. So my point is, a lot of people have been emailing me about their timing. You need to start watching the clock. And if you're writing open book, 90 minutes, really. If you're going, and you shouldn't worry if you're at the 90-minute mark, but if you're going to like 3 hours, that's when you want to bring it to my attention. Okay? So let's start thinking about time right now. So you bring up the design defect, you give both sides. What's the alternative argument? What's the alternative argument? Or the alternate argument, excuse me. What is it? Is there one? Small, yes. Love all the hands. Anybody? Shout it out. Yes.
Was it the compliance with the safety standards, the safety regulations?
Well, can you make the argument? Yeah, compliance with the safety standards.
With the safety, because they comply with the safety regulations that were set by the federal government. That their design was in compliance with the typical standard within the
Perfect. So the government approved their design, right? Why should we be penalized? We got this approved. It's like saying we had a permit for it and now you're telling us we can't sell it. Is that argument going to win out in the end? No. So you want to bring it up and then shoot it down. Then also they're probably going to say it's expensive. Why should we have to spend more money? We said, it was approved and we don't want to spend any more money. So then we're going to make a heading, right, under the issue by which the motion to dismiss is tied into. And your heading, well, let's look at the call. So you can do it like this. I have like two different ways. I don't want to confuse you guys. Okay, let's back that up. Let's not do a heading yet up there. Let's finish the approach. Let's finish the whole strict product liability approach. Okay? That's how we're going to do it. I think that's the best way to go. So what's next? What do we need next? Come on, let's speed this up. No, I gave it to you, remember? In class. Yeah. Foreseeable use. Is this an important element here? Yeah. What do you want to argue here? Was it foreseeable that somebody would use hot soup in the blender to blend it up? Is that a foreseeable act? Hell yeah, I'm not buying a blender just for cold stuff. I'm not going to have a blender for cold stuff and a blender for hot stuff. I'm not going to have room for that in my kitchen. I'm going to press the button and do that. But, so it is foreseeable. However, what's the counter to that? She also did something else, right? We're missing a key fact. She filled it, it says, what did it say? Within what? 2 inches. So did she use it properly there? No, but is it foreseeable that someone's not going to listen to that and fill it up to the top? You have to anticipate that. A blender, I do it all the time too. I'm like, nah, I can take a little more almond milk. Let's bring that in. Oh, you guys like woke up. Okay, and there was like, aha, great. Yes.
I was going to say also, who really reads the manual?
So, right.
So that's like a minor argument. Most people are going to buy a blender, and
I don't think that's a very strong argument.
Yeah.
Because and for the online students, I'm getting so much better at that, huh? Remembering. I have this like TikTok in my head. It was that they could argue that the manufacturer or the consumer can say who reads the fine print on the express warranty, right? Who reads that actual I actually read it, but most people are not going like, well, can I use hot? Because I'm pretty paranoid. Yes.
Can't that be inadequate warning as opposed to failure to warn?
I think it could tie in. Well, it's the same thing. Failure to warn and inadequate warning. It's pretty much synonymous. Pretty synonymous. The heading's synonymous. But I think that the conclusion is going to be what? What's the conclusion going to be? Did the consumer here use the blender in a way that even if it wasn't intended to be used, it could be foreseeable? Yes. So there was a foreseeable use here. Great participation. Thank you. I wrote here, totally foreseeable. I use it for hot items too. Totally foreseeable. And then causation. So give both sides there. Causation. Do we have causation actual proximate? Yes. Quickly in and out. Do we have damage? Yes. Quickly. Now we know going into this, if we've charted this out, wasn't this kind of helpful, right? This little chart here? We know that strict product liability is our major one, right? Because we have 2 main movements to dismiss based on areas that come out of strict product liability and claims that need to be made there, okay? So we've spent time on the defect. We know what our position will be there. And now where do we go? So let's bring up the defenses. What are the defenses that will apply here? So misuse as the biggie. So this goes as well to the foreseeable use of the product, right? So you're basically, it's the same argument. Does anyone see anything different that would apply to the misuse defense? What's the standard for misuse that we talked about? Must anticipate reasonable foreseeable use. Is that pretty much the same? Like we're just talking about if it is foreseeable. But I guess the wrinkle would be, should the manufacturer have anticipated? This is the wrinkle. I'll give you the wrinkle. Should the manufacturer or be held to a standard whereby the manufacturer has to anticipate, and even if they didn't, is it fair to impute that duty upon them, that it would be foreseeable either way? Okay? So would it be foreseeable? And we already said it is. Okay? So I guess the analysis here is it more foreseeable for the manufacturer? Right? Yeah. You can't say, unless they're going to put on the box, like, only cold products. Right? I know it's in the name. That's, I think, the hardest part about this essay, is that
You're getting, it says cold drink blender. I wouldn't put stuff in a cold drink blender without thinking. I would think about it. I would consider.
who would put a hot item in a cold drink blender in here? I get it. But it's a blender. It's a blender. So I have a Ninja, and this literally when I was gonna go through a product liability essay today, and I found this one, I'm like, this is so funny because I just got a really nice Ninja, and I was like really excited to finally get it. And the other day, I'm like, I wanted to make this butternut squash. I became vegan like a year ago, and I wanted to make this vegan butternut squash soup. I'm like, I wonder if I could put it in my Ninja. It's for smoothies, right? But I did, and it was fine. Most blenders will be able to blend even in hot item. Unless it would have to be, that's where the warning comes in. So I get that, but it says cold, right? But you have to, just like the chair, is a chair meant to be used to fix a light bulb? No, they're advertising it to be, you sit on it. But you have to think as a manufacturer, you know what people use things for. That's your job. We impute that duty on manufacturers of products because there is a commonsensical argument when it comes to products that people don't deviate from the use. They just do. Okay, let's move on. Let's keep going because we're not even, oh my gosh, spending so much time on this practice essay. That's okay. It's worth it. So let's go through the motion to dismiss now. So do we have misuse or not? No. Because it was foreseeable that she... What else was foreseeable? That she would fill it to the top. Right. Great. So you want to bring up that fact as well. And do we bring up assumption of risk? Do we bring up any other defenses? Not really. No. So let's make a heading, motion to dismiss here. And just so you know, there are probably 5 different ways I could teach this approach in terms of the motion to dismiss, literally. This is just one of them, okay? There's, in my head, literally 5 different ways I could teach this and approach it. So just to be clear, if you're ever faced with a motion to dismiss where they're not asking you like civil procedure, right? Motion to dismiss. They're asking it within the context of another subject and there's a complaint on file and they want to dismiss, the defendant wants to dismiss one or more claims, go into a full-blown approach within the claim. Okay? And then address the weaknesses of the claim per the motion to dismiss, where they're bringing it up. So first they say A, defect. So you can say motion to dismiss based on defect. And basically what you're doing here is you are regurgitating what you argued within the defect section of breach. You know, you could give a little factual analysis as well. Very brief. You know, as argued above, there was a design defect, and there are enough facts to support a design defect when manufacturer could have installed a safety feature. Therefore, and don't forget to conclude, this is the point, therefore, manufacturer's motion to dismiss based on a design defect should be denied. Does that seem straightforward to you, that approach? Okay, good. What about the next one? B. Motion to dismiss. Let's literally regurgitate the language. Let's say motion to dismiss. I mean, you could really play around with this, but alleging plaintiff's own misuse. So we're like just regurgitating the heading. Same thing. You're going to just give a little blurb, regurgitate what you argued within misuse based on the foregoing. It was foreseeable that the product could have been used for a hot item, and there are enough facts to support not only that hot items within common sense would be used in a blender, but that general consumers would fill the blender to the top. Therefore, the defendant's motion to dismiss based on the plaintiff's own misuse should be what? Denied. And now you're done with this and this. And let's quickly wrap it up because we got to get to contracts. See, that's why you're taking so long. You just don't want to get to contracts. I know what's really going on here. Where's my eraser? For reals? That's so weird. Okay, I'll use this. Where's my eraser? Oh, I bet I put it in my purse. Want to bet? See, I put it in my purse when I went to get a coffee. Okay. Negligence. So now we go into negligence. We see we have a negligence claim. Even. Yes. Yes. Well, we're not there yet, but you mean in terms of the same like setup?
Well, I was wondering, would we insert the retailer?
Okay, because no, I would do the retailer last. Because right now we're just dealing with the manufacturer. I think if we go to the retailer, it's going to be confusing. But that's what I'm saying. Like you could, as long as you did like A, manufacturer's claims under strict product liability, B, retailer's claims, then you could do it that way. Okay, but also we haven't analyzed negligence yet, and the retailer has claims under, wants to dismiss based on both of them. So I would wait to discuss negligence. Okay? As long as it's organized and clear, you can do it a couple different ways. Okay? There's no one way to do this. All right? Let's keep going. Wait, we got to finish this up. So if we can hold yeah, was that Anita? Yeah. Oh yes, that was Anita. Yes, what's up? Okay.
So then for the very first header for strict product liability, should we say manufacturer of strict product liability? And then afterwards, now we're going to eventually do retailer?
Not really, because it's a general theory.
Okay.
and then whatever we analyze, in essence, let's wait till we get to the retailer, because I'm going to show you how to knock that out. The retailer can be knocked out pretty quickly, okay? So let's hold the questions. All right, let's just hold the questions to get through this. We have a theory of negligence. So by the way, your heading really is product liability based on negligence. What do we need? Oh, wow, it's almost 7 o'clock. Okay. Let's hope product liability comes up for how long we're spending on this practice essay, but we really do have to speed it up. We have proper plaintiff. Do we have that? Yes. Proper defendant? Yes. Duty? What's the duty? Reasonable and prudent manufacturer. Breach? Go into this, give both sides, talk about why what the manufacturer did was or was not reasonable. And I've given you within the approach on negligence, make a note, we're not going to have time to go over it right now, but make a note that you need to read, like what you need to basically be addressing within breach for negligence product liability, okay? There's like 3 main questions you want to address. So make sure to look at that. So obviously we've determined the manufacturer acted unreasonably, right? Per the duty, and we already know why now. We know, right? We know why? Okay, I don't think we need to repeat it. And then anything else that we need to go into here? Causation. We have that. We've already discussed it quickly in and out. Damage. You do have to have the headings, okay? Because like even if this was like your third theory in a specific question, you might be like, oh, so annoying, but you've got to still keep your headings. Damages, and then what are the defenses? Contributory negligence, spending the most time here. Was she contributorily negligent? She was. Was she not? Let's give both sides. Give me one side, please. Excuse me. Yes?
Yes, she was contributorily negligent because she was not, she intentionally neglected the warning on where it stated that it needs to be 2 inches below the top, and she did not use common sense when she read the label saying cold beverage.
Okay, so one argument is she should have not put hot soup in it. She should have read the label. She should have known not to put it above the mark line, right? The line, which I do all the time. Now I'm not going to do it anymore. But by the way, like when it's really not working, it starts shaking. Then you just shut it off, just for future reference. But don't do that. Follow the instructions, okay? Is there a counter? Is there a counter argument? Will a defense of contributory negligence dismiss an entire claim? Absolutely not. It's a defense. So your argument is, okay, even if she did contribute to her negligence to some degree, first of all, we already established that her use was foreseeable. Okay, so we've got to bring that counter up. And it will merely offset any damage provision. It's a defense. It's not going to take away the entire, or I mean, it could take away the entire claim, but maybe we need more evidence, right? Do we need to know a little bit more? Is this going to go to the jury on a question of fact? So we want to tell them that, perhaps. But what are we missing here? What are we missing? We're missing the fact that for, write this down, contributory negligence, it will not dismiss an entire claim. It will merely diminish the reward. So we'll offset it. Because they're not going to be completely off the hook here, are they? Based on what we've already discussed. I mean, we just found them liable under a strict product liability theory. So, good arguments, give both sides, okay? I'm going to speed this up right now, really, really have to. And conclude that this lack of care, okay, is going to be denied. It's going to be denied. And if you don't understand why, you can ask me at the break. But it's going to be denied because even though she may have contributed to her negligence, her use was still foreseeable, and it will not dismiss, it's not a basis for a dismissal of an entire claim. That's the key. It's not a basis for a dismissal. Okay. So same thing as we did here, I'll just say it to save time. Motion to dismiss for lack of care on behalf of plaintiff, right under the contributory negligence defense. So again, same thing, motion to dismiss heading. Can even do like lack of care and regurgitate what I just argued, and therefore a motion to dismiss on a lack of care grounds on behalf of the plaintiff should be denied. Last, the retailer. Where is my eraser? Hold on, I have to find that eraser. The dog ate it. You guys punking me? Someone take my eraser. Remember that show? I love that show. Happened to Ashton Kutcher. No, it's totally not here. So weird. Anyone see it? Can we like look around? Because, oh, here it is. Shana. Still thinking about those bills for the holiday. Just kidding. How do we deal with the retailer? So make a heading. Retailers. What is the retailer trying to do? He's also trying to dismiss on the ground that A, no part in the manufacture of the cold drink. Does it matter? Does it matter? So this would be, I guess, when you organize it, just really quickly, I would go 1, manufacturer's claims. A, strict product liability. And then go through the whole approach, and then the 2 conclusions on that motion to dismiss. B, negligence. Go through the whole approach, and then just the heading on the lack of care, and the conclusion there. And then 2, retailer. A retailer's motion, actually, let's call it that, to be really specific. A, have we not gone through all the elements of the theories that will allow us now to establish whether or not the retailer's motions will go through? Yeah, so just quickly go A, my notes. What was the first ground? Okay, so yeah, let's just follow the same organization. Motion to dismiss for what? What was the first one? In the call, what does it say?
No part.
No part. Okay, well, what do we know about, what did we say when we went through the approach? Does it matter if the retailer didn't play a part? No, it doesn't matter. That's all we're telling them here. It doesn't matter. The retailer was in the chain, right, of distribution, and therefore a strict product liability claim can apply towards a retailer just like a manufacturer. What else is important to argue, though?
Duty to inspect.
Not so much duty, well, not so much, well, what do we discuss before duty to inspect? What about indemnification? Right? We're not at remedies yet. Don't get all flustered, okay? But that's why we do these exercises. And I'll be spending a lot of time on this tonight, but I think it's important. This is a hard question, okay? And that's okay, but we have a potential indemnification issue. That just basically means I didn't act, you acted. So if a judgment comes down on me, I'm going to sue you in an action for indemnity to diminish and actually have you pay the judgment against me. I'm going to go after you for whatever they were able to collect against me. Okay, so he can sue him for indemnification. So he may not be able to get out, but he may be able to get a lawsuit in indemnity. Okay, what else? Let me just look at my notes. I'm just like you. This is defect. Yes, okay. What about the negligence? So in the negligence claim is where you want to bring up the duty to inspect. That's where that comes up. Within negligence is where the duty to inspect comes up. That is the theory by which a retailer would be held to that. And where would you discuss that, by the way?
So is your heading for A, you meant to write design defect? Because the no part is under our negligence chart.
Yes. No, I'm going to dismiss for no defect. And then here, motion to dismiss for what? For no part. And then here, yeah, you're right. And then here, you go into the duty to inspect. So here, in the first one, you're just regurgitating the argument regarding defects, saying that there's a general rule the retailer can be held accountable as well, just like the manufacturer will not get dismissed on that ground, but may get indemnification. And then the motion to dismiss for no part in it, basically, did the retailer here have a duty to inspect? No. So is this dismissal going to be granted or not on this claim? No. Good. So make a subheading, duty to inspect, and then conclude again. Make sure that the conclusions are the most important part, because you have to conclude whether or not the motion on that ground is going to be granted or denied. Okay, let's take 10. I think everyone needs a break. Let's take 10.